I'm 19 years old, married, no degree, no 9 to 5.
Morning as a 19-year-old wife.
So this morning was like normal.
I don't know about y'all, but I'm a lot happier as a housewife obeying her husband than I ever was as a career-driven woman obeying her boss.
Women belong in the kitchen. Women belong in the kitchen. Yes, we do. What the hell else would I hone in my talents on? Just imagine this, but for a husband.
Spend the morning with me as a 19-year-old wife.
Good morning, girlies, and happy Saturday. And welcome back for another morning routine with your favorite trad wife. Everyone.
Apparently, there are 19-year-old women on TikTok getting married, leaving college, and becoming full-time wives. 19. At 19, I was still trying to figure out whether you could put everything in the washing machine together and just hope for the best. Meanwhile, somebody's 19-year-old daughter is waking up before sunrise, making bread from scratch, ironing her husband's shirts, packing his lunch, cleaning the house, and explaining why submitting to her husband has actually made her feel more free. And apparently, this is becoming aspirational. Because once you fall into this particular corner of TikTok, it is a whole different universe. It's 4 a.m. The kitchen is spotless. There's flour floating through golden hour lighting for some reason. She's wearing a linen dress that has never encountered a stain in its life. There's homemade bread cooling on the counter. Dinner is somehow already being prepared, even though I'm pretty sure the sun hasn't technically clocked in yet. And underneath these videos, you'll see comments like, "This is literally my dream. I don't want a career anymore. I was born in the wrong generation." And I'm sitting there thinking, wait, what happened? Because I thought we were supposed to be fighting over who gets the corner office. Now some 20-year-olds are looking at corporate America and going, actually, do you have anything in sourdough? But here's where this gets complicated, because part of me gets it. Like, I really get it. Have you ever had one of those weeks where you're answering emails, paying bills, trying to remember appointments, figuring out what you're eating for dinner, worrying about money, checking your phone, checking your calendar, then checking your phone again because apparently the first 17 times weren't enough? And suddenly somebody shows you a video of a quiet farmhouse where your biggest problem appears to be whether the bread has risen? Yeah, I understand the appeal. There are days when modern adulthood feels like somebody opened 47 tabs in my brain and then hid the one that's playing music. So when I look at these videos, I don't immediately think, wow, these women are crazy. Sometimes I think, okay, that actually looks kind of peaceful. And that is what made this interesting to me. Because maybe we're asking the wrong question. Maybe the question isn't, why would young women want to go backwards? Maybe it's, what are they trying to get away from? Because psychologically, there are a few things happening here that I cannot stop thinking about. We have the paradox of choice, where technically having more options can sometimes make us less satisfied with the option we choose. We have mental load. We have burnout. We have economic anxiety. We have nostalgia for periods of history most of us never actually experienced. And then we have escapism, because when the present feels chaotic enough, an idealized version of the past can start looking suspiciously attractive. But then there's another side to this, because the 1950s aesthetic and the 1950s reality are two very different things. And somewhere between homemade cinnamon rolls and my husband makes the final decisions, this conversation gets complicated very quickly. So I went down the rabbit hole. We're going to watch some of these women explain why they chose this life, including women who got married extremely young, women who walked away from education or careers, and women who genuinely believe traditional gender roles have given them something modern life wasn't giving them. And I want to actually listen to them, not immediately mock them, not immediately romanticize them either. Because I'm less interested in deciding whether the tradwife lifestyle is good or bad than I am in figuring out why this fantasy is suddenly landing so hard with young women right now. And before we start, I want to know where you are on this. If you have ever watched one of these videos and thought, I would never do this, but also that bread looks incredible and she does seem suspiciously relaxed, type guilty in the comments. And if you had to choose right now, traditional homemaker life, yes or no? Just give me yes or no. No dissertation required. We can fight about the details later. Because I have a feeling this comment section is about to become a psychological study of its own. All right, let's get into it. First clip. Let's see what we're dealing with.
I'm 19 years old, married, no degree, no 9 to 5, and I'm exactly where I want to be. Let me answer all your questions. Yes, I got engaged at 18, married at 19. I didn't go to college. I don't plan to. I don't have a degree. I don't have a job, and I'm not getting one. I love to cook for my husband. I love to host. I love to run our home. These are things I'm very passionate about. I get asked about this a lot, but me and my husband dated for 6 weeks before getting engaged. And I didn't have a wedding. We opted out of the whole big wedding thing. I got married at my husband's house with 20 people. Now, personally, I think wedding culture has gotten so out of hand and people are getting married for the party. When I was a little girl and I dreamed of my wedding day, I dreamed of being married, not being in a big gown. And I didn't do that. I got married in a dress that I picked up from Bloomingdale's the day before for $200. I got married to build a life with my husband, the man that I love, not for the party. We made the decision to go on a 2-month honeymoon instead and make lifelong memories that I will savor forever. Also, yes, me and my husband do have an age gap. He is 10 years older than me. A lot of people seem to think I got married for religious reasons. That's not true. Yes, I'm religious. I'm not that religious. I chose to get married young because I wanted to. And I'm told by a lot of people that I should be young and out there and living my life. I don't know what that means. I promise you I am living my life to the fullest in my faithful marriage. Anyways, that's a little bit about me and my life. I hope I answered all your questions.
Women belong in the kitchen. Women belong in the kitchen. Yes, we do. What the hell else would I hone in my talents on? Just imagine this, but for a husband, for a man to come home to munch on, to eat sweet potatoes with broccoli, with a ribeye steak. Just imagine you come home. Sweetheart, hope your day was good. The 3 children that we have, they're, in their bedroom finishing up their homework. Here's your ribeye with sweet potatoes and broccoli. There's a banana bread baking in the oven. And a glass of Woodford Reserve right there, right next to the game. Literally, who wouldn't want that?
Morning in the life of a 19-year-old wife. The first thing I do every morning is open the blinds. I love all the natural sunlight. Then I made overnight oats the night before, so I got them out, put a little cashew butter on top, and then cut some fresh strawberries. It has been so windy here in the Midwest lately, and I am very tired of it, but sat on the porch and ate my breakfast. Then I just ordered this little supplement container. I've been trying to stay consistent in taking different supplements, and this was honestly so fun to organize. It is a struggle though for me to get some of these bigger ones down. I already hate taking pills and some of these ones are ginormous, so the struggle is real, but I'm trying my best. If you're wondering what supplements I'm taking, there's collagen in there, vitamin D, iron, and then a probiotic. Then I got some ice and made my favorite drink. This proper flavoring is so good. I'm pretty sure this one's mango pineapple or something like that. Then I headed out of the house. I headed to my local coffee shop and said hi to all my friends who work there because I used to work there. Didn't film that though, but then I came home and made my bed and then went on a walk with one of my best friends.
I got married at 18, and this is the life everyone warned me about. No wild nights, no keeping my options open, no chasing 100 different versions of myself, and a man who comes home to me every night. They said I'd lose my freedom. I've never felt more safe to be fully myself.
I don't know about y'all, but I'm a lot happier as a housewife obeying her husband than I ever was as a career-driven woman obeying her boss. Come on now.
I have thoughts. Because after watching enough of these videos, I realize the part that fascinates me isn't actually the bread. The bread is innocent. Leave the bread out of this. It's the fact that so many of these women are incredibly young. And they're not just saying, I want to stay home with my kids someday. They're questioning the entire life script they were handed. College, career, promotions, independence, climb the ladder, become successful, somehow maintain friendships, exercise 4 times a week, drink enough water, have hobbies, travel, eventually have children, and then somehow continue doing all of that while pretending you're not one mildly inconvenient email away from losing it. And I think that's why I can't completely laugh at this trend. Because underneath all the beautiful kitchens and suspiciously photogenic sourdough, there is a legitimate question being asked. What if I don't want the version of success everybody told me I was supposed to want? And fair. That's actually a reasonable question. Somewhere along the way, women's liberation gave women more choices, which is obviously a good thing. But culturally, we sometimes turned "you can do anything" into "you should probably do everything." Have the career, have the family, be financially independent, be emotionally available, keep the house together, look good doing it, and please remember to practice self-care. Apparently, self-care is now another assignment. So when a 19 or 20-year-old looks at all of that and says, "Actually, I would rather have one person work and one person manage the home," I can understand the logic. I might have questions about the execution, but I understand the sales pitch. Because the tradwife fantasy offers something modern life is frankly terrible at offering: simplicity. Your role is clear. Your responsibilities are clear. Your identity is clear. There isn't this constant anxiety that somewhere out there exists a better career, a better city, a better relationship, a better version of you that you should currently be becoming. But here's the little voice in the back of my head that won't shut up. Are these women genuinely choosing traditionalism because it fits their values? Or are some of them choosing it because they're already exhausted by modern adulthood before they've really had the chance to experience it? Because those are not necessarily the same thing. And 19 is young. I don't mean that disrespectfully. I mean, your relationship with yourself can change dramatically between 19 and 29. The things I was absolutely certain about at 19? Thank God nobody gave me a legally binding document. And there's another distinction I think we're going to have to make throughout this video. Choosing homemaking is one thing. Choosing a relationship structure where one person earns the money is one thing. Enjoying traditional gender roles is one thing. But once we start talking about submission, authority, who gets the final say, whether women should pursue education or financial independence at all, now we've walked into a completely different room. And I don't think we can pretend those conversations are interchangeable just because everybody involved owns an apron. So right now, I'm conflicted. I understand the fantasy more than I expected to. I understand why someone might look at modern hustle culture and say, yeah, absolutely not. But I also keep wondering what happens when the beautiful morning routine meets real life. What happens when you're 30 instead of 20? What happens when money gets tight? What happens if the marriage changes? And most importantly, what happens when the person you become 10 years from now wants something the person you were at 19 never anticipated?
Some people are gonna come for me in the comments here, but my life would be so much better if I didn't have to work. I would just have so much more time and energy to do the things that I want to do. The ideal day for me is sleeping in a little bit, waking up, making a little breakfast, going to the gym, coming home, doing some cleaning, going for a walk. But no, instead, my day consists of me being gone from the house from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then in order to get 8 hours of sleep, I would need to be in bed by 8:30 p.m., which leaves me with 4.5 hours to myself to do what I want. Which does not include going to the gym because I'm exhausted and I'm tired. But it also includes me trying to make dinner, eat dinner, do anything else that I need to do instead of just enjoying my life. So if anybody has any tips and tricks on how to become a millionaire overnight, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Let me know what y'all like or dislike about being a trad wife.
I'm 19 years old, married, no degree, no 9 to 5.
I'm 37. I've been a stay-at-home mom for the past 10 plus years.
I got engaged at 18, married at 19.
2 weeks ago, he told me that he wants to move forward with divorce.
I didn't go to college.
I have no income.
I don't have a job.
I have no money.
And I'm not getting one.
I use my husband's credit card and I use my husband's money.
Yes, me and my husband do have an age gap.
I'm 37. He'll be 55 in March.
He is 10 years older than me.
And I married an older man thinking that he was ready for marriage and settle down.
Me and my husband dated for 6 weeks before getting engaged.
I use an American Express credit card for everything. It's got my name on it, but obviously he pays the bill.
And I'm told by a lot of people that I should be young and out there and living my life.
And he said, you need to start using your own card now. What card?
I don't know what that means.
I don't have a card. That is my card.
I promise you I am living my life to the fullest in my faithful marriage.
I don't know how to take care of myself.
I'm 19 years old, married, no degree, no 9 to 5.
I don't, like, it's just terrifying.
This might piss some people off, but I just want to take a moment and say, thank goodness that so many of us are waking up to the fact that modern day feminism is a literal scam meant to disconnect and separate and isolate women from one another. And not only from one another, but from the natural ways of living. Like, this shit literally goes against nature. Modern day feminism says that women should be out in the workforce working 40+ hour weeks while their children stay at home with a caretaker, that they immediately get put in the school system from age 5 and stay until they're 18, if not older if they go to college. And that while women have 4 phases of their cycle that give them extremely different hormone levels and energy levels, that they should be doing the exact same routine every day, every week, and every month. I'm sorry, but fuck that. Like, I am down for the boss babe shit. I am building 2 businesses right now. I think women should be running their own empires if that's what they want. But it can be done the feminine way. Women are meant to be provided for so they can stay home and take care of their children and be the actual parent to their child. They're supposed to rest during their moon cycle. They're supposed to frolic around naked and connect to their bodies and connect to the earth and be the caretaker. They're not meant to be in hustle all the time. They're not meant to be in doing mode all the time. We're meant to be. And we're meant to be in community, surrounded by other women, letting them support our children as well. Being in community vibes is essential. And what does modern day feminism do? Separates us from that as well, turns women against each other as competitors instead of allies, and makes us work until we're too tired to function, amongst so many other tragic things. So if you're still stuck in that modern day feminism trap, let me just tell you that you deserve to be rich, you deserve to be your own boss, you deserve to do all of the things a man does too, but there is a unique way that you're meant to do it that is separate on a physiological and biological level from how a man is supposed to do it. And learning to embrace that is learning to embrace your true nature.
You know what's strange? The more of these videos I watched, the less interested I became in whether I personally would want to be a trad wife. Because I think that's actually the least interesting question here. What I kept wondering was, why does this feel so appealing to so many young women right now? Because take away the politics for a second. Take away the word traditional. Take away feminism, submission, all of that. What are these videos actually showing us? A slower life. A predictable life. A home that feels peaceful. Someone else carrying part of the responsibility. Clear expectations. Family. Purpose. Routine. And suddenly, I'm sitting there thinking, wait, are we sure people are attracted to the 1950s? Or are people attracted to the idea of finally not feeling overwhelmed? Because I don't know about you, but you cannot deny there's a part of you that sometimes wishes somebody else would just handle a couple of things. I don't need a complete surrender of personal autonomy. I just want to hear, don't worry, I already dealt with it. Approximately 3 more times per week. Is that traditionalism? Because if so, we may have to revisit some things. And that's where I think psychology makes this trend much more interesting. Human beings generally like having choices, but we don't necessarily like having unlimited choices. There's something called the paradox of choice. Beyond a certain point, more options can actually create anxiety, because now you're constantly wondering whether you chose correctly. And modern women have more possible lives available to them than almost any generation of women before them, which is incredible. But psychologically, it can also mean constantly asking yourself, am I focusing enough on my career? Should I have children? When? Should I travel first? Should I buy a house? Should I prioritize relationships? Am I financially independent enough? Am I wasting my 20s? Meanwhile, Tradwife TikTok walks into the room and says, or you could make pie. I mean, I see the marketing strategy. There's something comforting about a clearly defined life. And I wonder whether that's particularly powerful when you're 19 or 20 and everyone keeps asking what you're going to do with the next 60 years of your existence, as though you weren't recently asking permission to use the bathroom. But there's another part of this that I can't ignore. The fantasy depends enormously on trust. If you're going to step away from earning your own income, and another person becomes responsible for providing for you, you're not just choosing homemaking. You're making a very significant bet on another human being. And maybe that bet works beautifully. Plenty of marriages do. Plenty of stay-at-home mothers are happy. Plenty of couples genuinely function better when responsibilities are divided that way. But relationships aren't the only thing that can change. People die. People become disabled. Jobs disappear. Economies collapse. Marriages end. And I think sometimes the internet interprets acknowledging those possibilities as being cynical about marriage. I don't think it's cynical.
My big issue with the tradwife thing is, what do you do if your husband dies? Or gets hurt, or gets fired, or divorces you, whatever. What do you do? It just doesn't seem like the best idea to depend on a singular person for your future and your kids' futures. And, I just don't get it.
Life is unpredictable, and that's why I keep thinking about the age of some of these women. 19 isn't stupid. 20 isn't incapable. Young women can make serious decisions, but 19 is early in the process of discovering who you're going to become. The psychological development of identity doesn't suddenly finish because you got married. You keep changing. And I think a healthy choice should leave some room for that person to change. That's also where submission gets complicated for me. If an adult woman genuinely prefers a marriage where her husband leads, she feels respected, she can disagree, she has a voice, and she has chosen that dynamic, I don't know that strangers on TikTok get to tell her she's secretly miserable. But again, there's that word, chosen. Because there's a huge psychological difference between saying, I trust this person enough that I'm comfortable allowing him to lead, and believing, I'm a woman, therefore leadership isn't supposed to belong to me. Those ideas might produce similar-looking TikToks, but they're not psychologically the same thing. And I think the feminism conversation has the same problem. If feminism means women should have choices, then a woman choosing to become a homemaker isn't necessarily a rejection of feminism. She is literally exercising a choice women fought to have. Where it gets strange is when personal happiness becomes universal advice. I became happier when I left my career is interesting. Women are unhappy because they have careers is a much bigger claim. And I think social media constantly encourages us to make that leap. Something worked for me, therefore everybody should do it. Something hurt me, therefore nobody should do it. Apparently, we're incapable of discovering a nice restaurant without immediately deciding the entire human population needs to eat there. Maybe there isn't one correct answer here. Maybe some women really are miserable trying to climb corporate ladders they never wanted to climb. Maybe some women would be miserable spending every day at home. Maybe some people genuinely flourish in traditional marriages. Maybe other people would feel suffocated in them. That's the annoying thing about human beings. We're inconveniently individual. And after watching all of this, I think the tradwife trend says less about whether women secretly want to return to the past and more about how exhausted people are with the present. The aesthetics might be nostalgic, but the emotional appeal feels extremely modern. Slow down, simplify your life, stop competing, stop optimizing everything, Stop trying to become 15 different people simultaneously. I understand that. What I don't want is for us to replace one rigid expectation with another. Women shouldn't have to prove their independence by having careers they hate, but they also shouldn't be told they're biologically destined to become homemakers. The woman with the sourdough starter isn't superior to the woman with the MBA, and the woman with the MBA isn't automatically more liberated than the woman making lunch for her husband. Freedom gets a little meaningless if we're only comfortable with it when people make the choices we would make. So maybe that's where I land. Build whatever life genuinely works for you. Just make sure you're choosing the life itself, not simply the beautiful feeling somebody managed to fit into a 45-second TikTok. And maybe keep some money somewhere. I'm just saying. So tell me what you think. Do you see this trend as a rejection of feminism, a response to burnout, just another TikTok aesthetic, or something else entirely? And has watching these women made traditional life look even slightly more appealing to you? Because I'm not going to lie, somebody else dealing with the electricity company while I make muffins is beginning to sound less like oppression and more like an extremely competitive benefits package. I'm Sage, this is Maladaptive Variable, and I'll see you in the next one.